Today we're going to show how to install and remove a barrel off of a Savage Model 12. This can be done home with tools that are somewhat more basic than these. These tools, or at least the wrench and the vise, are commercial models. These are the ones I used when I was practicing gunsmithing. But you can have them that are made out of oak blocks, and they will work pretty well. They just won't last as long, and they won't take quite as much abuse and punishment. This one's over 30 years old, and it's still in pretty good shape. The tools are going to be, first of all, the action vise. This is made out of 2" by 2" steel, and you can see a place there you can put the various rings that you're going to apply to different types of actions and barrel profiles. They're going to use the Savage action wrench. There's a profile, two different types of profile. One's a square tooth profile and one is a round tooth profile. Otherwise they're identical. One fits one type of collar, the other one fits the other type of collar. This is the NOGO gauge. Notice it says 243-308 because the same gauge can be used for both, because the 243 is a 308 that's neck down. People use this also for the 7.62 by 51. Here's the measurement. It's 1" 634 thousandths long, and it says NOGO, which is an abbreviation for NOGO, which is it's less expensive saying O than no. I guess it costs less to manufacture it. But this is a NOGO gauge, length 1" 634 thousandths. The GO gauge is identical to this one, except it says GO, not OGO, and the measurement is 1" 630 thousandths, and that measurement is taken from the base up to this taper up here. So these are the basic tools that you use. If you have a complete set like that I do, there's different profiles. As you can see, these are well worn and well used. This is the one that happens to fit the Savage the best out of the ones I have available to me. And what you do is you simply take one of the collars, you put it in the bottom, and you make sure the taper is toward the back. And you take the other one, you slide it in, and you put the taper toward the back, and they'll sit right there until you're ready to use them. We want to apply a little bit of lubricant to these threads. These are under quite a bit of pressure, and they do last longer, and this is quite old. So I'm going to put just a dab of lubriplate on there, and that's going to help it so it won't gall when you torque it down. As I mentioned, this is a Savage Model 12. Now when I use this combination of collars on the Savage, it's not required if you have your collars fit very well, but what I like to do is I like to apply a little bit of masking tape. Again, this is not required. This is totally optional, but I'd rather be safe than sorry because I don't like to scratch anything. Totally optional. Put it on there, and there you go. First, take your wrench, make sure you have the correct profile. This is a square bottom profile. This collar has the square bottoms, so make sure you have the correct profile. Slide the wrench on. Try not to scratch it. It's not crucial, but nonetheless there's no need of scratching it. Lift. Slide. Move it around a little bit. It eventually will work. Now this one's a little bit short. When I made this years ago, this one came out a little bit short, but it didn't matter. So sometimes I put something up inside the vise just to push those collars all the way so that they're seated up against the locking collar on the Savage. And there we go. Our final goal is to make sure that these are essentially centered. I like to have the gap on both sides to be equal. The gap on this one is essentially equal to this one, or similar anyway. The locking power, of course, comes more from the top side. It diminishes, it goes toward the edge, and down here it's not too crucial. But get it as center as you can. Screw the hardened nuts down over the hardened bolts. They last a lot longer if you use hard steel as opposed to soft steel. These have put on many barreled actions and many years, and they're still as usable as the day they were made. Pull it down so that this is an equidistant on both sides. You can see it's essentially equal here, over here, and our goal is to put equal pressure on both sides. Now you can use any type of wrench that you want to. Here's the type of wrench that I use, and we'll start locking these down, making sure you keep the distance similar. And now it starts becoming a lot harder. I don't have the ability to put enough torque on this. I'm not sure anybody does, perhaps the world's strongest man, but that's not me. I'm looking right now to see the distance is the same or similar, and that they feel about the same. And the pressure right now feels very similar, and with the same amount on both sides. Now that I have it like this, about the same, I'm going to use a cheater bar. Cheater bar is something you can't live without. I pull it over one time, two times, feeling the pressure is important here. You're trying to make this as similar as you can on both sides. I have no idea how much pressure I'm putting on this as far as the torque is concerned, but it is substantial. That shouldn't slip. Set this aside. At this point we're going to we'll move the wrench to where we want it. Now I always have trouble remembering which way this end screws, because remember, this screws clockwise onto the barrel and we're trying to unscrew it. So that means if this is, because we're screwed it onto the barrel and we're trying to screw that direction, so we're essentially trying to screw this further onto the barrel. So since we're trying to screw that further onto that barrel, which is backing it off of this locking lug here, that means it's going to turn clockwise. That means that we need to position this so that's more or less in the center. So now we have a hammer or a mallet or something. I like this rubber because I don't like beating up my tools. So if you can use steel if you want to, I've done it before, but I prefer using a good heavy solid rubber mallet. This probably weighs about 2.5 or 3 pounds, so use something that's fairly substantial, especially if it's rubber. And I'm going to give it a pop. It's off. It's loosened now. One more time. This is from the original factory install. This has never been off before. So this is coming off quite easily. if I didn't have my reloading press there, I could just go all the way around with this. And it's also pinching that masking tape. So there go the locking collars off. As you can see, this is unscrewed, so we should be able to take this off by hand at this point. Now, if you see the shank, this is a small shank, Savage. As you can see, they put some type of adhesive in there, that brown stuff in there. It's some kind of adhesive. And the lug itself, you'll notice that the receiver has a notch milled into it, and the locking lug has a notch milled into it. That way it's very easy, very tactile. You can feel it and know where it goes just by feel. I'm just looking at it to see if everything looks alright. This seems fine. So this sits on there just like that. And a punch press made this at the factory. Some people replace these. The factory ones do work fine. They're precision models. Some people say they work a lot better. I'm not sure I can tell the difference, but yet the precision model would perhaps be some better, but I wouldn't worry about it if you didn't have it. Take your go gauge. Make sure you have your correct gauges. Make sure, be very careful. This is the no-go gauge. We want the no-go gauge out of our way. Put the no-go gauge back in its tube. Set it aside. That way you are guaranteed not to have a problem. Make sure your go gauge is clean on the base, along the sides. If you want to wipe it off with your t-shirt, that's fine. Just make sure that it's clean. Make sure you've cleaned out your chamber. You don't want to have any dust, dirt, particles, goo, anything in your chamber. You want these to be immaculately clean. The go gauge and the back of the barrel and inside the chamber. Take your lug, place it on your action so that you see the indentation to the back. It fits in that notch right there. Must fit in that notch. Just like that. Anything else, you're going to have an unhappy result. And we'll install this back where it came from. Hardest part's lining it up. Can I do it? Well, maybe not. There we go. It's on. If we can put just a scooch drop of oil, a little lubricate perhaps, won't hurt to put just a little bit of oil on there, or lubricant of some kind. Some people say it's unnecessary. If you don't want to, don't. I like doing it. I can feel the factory goo on there now. And at this point, make sure that you align the notch on the receiver and screw them on together. And it will stay in place just finger tight. Now we don't exactly know where this is going to go. So we're going to leave this, and we screwed that off a couple of turns. So we don't know exactly where it's going to go. It's going to go in there somewhere. So at this point we will take the bolt. Now this is assembled. You could take the extractor out if you wanted to. Some people would say it's a little more sure. You can take the ejector, which is the plunger type. You could take that out if you wanted to. I'm not going to, because of demonstration purposes. I'm not sure it's crucial. But normally I would take those out if I was actually doing this for something other than a video shoot like I am today. But this comes out easily. This comes out easily. We're not taking either of them out. The go gauge and the no-go gauge. Notice this protrusion. No, this is an indentation. That's for the firing pin, because sometimes you pull the trigger when you don't want to, and that way you won't break your firing pin tip or damage it in any kind of way. So we will now insert slide that in all the way, install the bolt, I can already feel it trying to engage. There we go, right there. It's closed on the gauge. Now I like to line this up. You can line these up and put that on there so tight you cannot extract that go gauge, or your ultimately it would be your brass, because brass are the sticky. So it's not your go gauge, it's the brass. So I like to have mine on so that you line up the lug, you take and you turn everything together, finger tight, until it stops on its own. Because you're not going to be able to do much just under finger pressure. So a couple more times just to show you about it's spinning, it stopped. Try it again. It's a feel. Pull it around. When it starts, pull it a little bit further. That's it. That's about how tight you can. Now that right there is a perfect fit. Sometimes the recoil lug wants to come out, so just make sure you put it back. One more time. Everything's lined up. The notch and the recoil lug lined up with the receiver. Finger tight. Pinch it a little bit, but I'm not going to be able to pull it much just with my fingers. That's just where I want it, right there. Now some people would say it's enough that you can put this on hand tight like this, and this will be perfectly head spaced, and that may be true. I like to head space mine a little bit tighter than that. I like the locking collar pressure to be a few taps. That's on there very tight. It doesn't seem like it is. That's very tight. If you want to put a cheater bar on there, you probably could, but you don't need to do that. At this point, remove your go gauge, put it inside the case. Don't ever mix these up. It could cause a problem, we'll say. This is the no-go gauge. This is 4 thousandths longer. Slide this in the chamber. This should not close. So it will not close. Perfect. Pull this out, and the extractor is going to try to throw that. The ejector, and kind of try. There you go. We have that out. Put these away first. These are precision tools. Don't drop them. Don't let them fall on the floor. And you might want to spray a little WD-40 or some type of a preservative oil in there once you handle it. And at this point, we're going to disassemble this. Take the bolt out first. Now that went on with a cheater bar, and it's not going to come off unless I put the cheater bar on it. You can do this a lot of other ways, but this is the way that it works. This isn't rocket science. once we take off, once we put the cheater bar on one side, the other side will loosen right up. Whatever you do, do not use a crescent wrench. Crescent wrench has way too much give. The best is going to be some form of a box end wrench, which is what this is. This is just an adjustable box end wrench. But if you have another type, 6 or 12 point, that works just fine. I like to use this type just because it comes on and off a little easier. This side should come off quite easily. The lubricator plate makes it so much easier. Back it off all the way. Some of these are made that have springs internally in this shaft right here. I didn't put the springs in, but you can, and that way it'll lift up on its own. Fell on the floor, doesn't hurt a thing. There you go. Not a scratch on it. No marring, as you can see. Nothing was broken through my fingernail, did that just then. There's no marring, there'll be no marring of any kind on this. And if you had this for a customer, they would never know it was taken off. That's going to peel off with some difficulty because it just was under many hundreds of pounds, if not thousands of pounds of pressure. I have no idea. But if you're a mathematician, you can figure out how much pressure you put on it by the length of the cheater bar, which it doesn't really matter. Peel off the tape. This Savage is perfectly head spaced. It's totally safe, and it's ready to go. So you can swap any type of barrel you want on the Savage as long as it has the proper type of shank. And that's how you change a Savage barrel. And that's it. Thanks again. See you next video. Bye.